Good afternoon. Welcome to today's CI Tools webinar. This is a weekly webinar that we run to talk about some things to do with the CI Tools. My name is Josh Osborne and I'm the product manager for the tools here at Central Innovation. And this week we are going to be having a look at the Launchpad tool, which is available in ArchiCAD 28. Before we get started though, just a couple of quick things. If you have any questions about anything during the webinar today, just enter those in the chat panel wherever you're watching this, and I'll check on those before we finish up and see if I can answer any of those while we're online. If you think of anything after the fact that you want to ask, or if you have questions that you'd like to ask our tech support team, or if you have suggestions for future webinar topics, you can just email those through to us on nz.support@centralinnovation.com, and that will make its way through to whoever will be able to answer you there. As I said, the Launchpad tool that we're going to be looking at was released in ArchiCAD 28, so we are going to be just using ArchiCAD 28 today. Any of the stuff that we're looking at in 28 that is available in older versions, I'll try and make a mention of that, but the tool itself is only available in ArchiCAD 28 currently. Also, before we get started showing the Launchpad tool, I just wanted to remind everyone about the technical preview for ArchiCAD 29. As you may know, I think we're almost a month in on the ArchiCAD 29 technical preview, and the CI tools are available for the technical preview as well. So if there's anyone who is running the ArchiCAD technical preview that wants to run the tools on it as well, you can get hold of those. Just email our support desk at the same place I mentioned before, nz.support@centralinnovation.com, and ask them how you can get access to those, and they'll send you a link to enable you to download the tools and get started with those. Those have been tested by us. They're not fully tested and fully released yet, obviously. They will be normally released in our CI Tools installer and everything once ArchiCAD 29 is released, but for now it's a manual installation, and you'll be sent instructions on how to do that when you ask about that. But yes, onto the Launchpad tool. So the Launchpad tool, as I mentioned, is new in ArchiCAD 28, and it is a free tool, so it's available to everyone. All you need to do is have a MyCI login to get access to that. So you don't have to purchase any subscription or anything like that. The tool itself is free to use. It's not going to become paid to use either. It's always going to be a free tool. There may be functionality that goes into it that is further improved as a paid tool or something like that, but the tools that are in the Launchpad tool currently will stay free there. It's not going to expire and ask you to pay for it or anything like that. So yeah, and the idea for the Launchpad tool is that it's a sort of a area where we can try out new things and see if they are useful to you and get feedback from you about whether you find them to be useful, if you think that they could be adapted or further built out into something a bit more of a actual tool or something like that. And it's also a spot where we can put things, just handy little functions and features that we think would be useful to a sort of a general audience as a way to get a taste for how the tools work. So where you will find the Launchpad tool is from the CI Tools menu, as with everything else, under Launchpad here. And you can see there's a handful of things available in the menu. This will grow over time as we build more things into the tool. But the main thing I want to look at today is the fifth item down here, Migrate Library Parts. So before we get into how that works, first of all, I just want to talk about how migration works in ArchiCAD 28. So as you may remember, one of the main big changes in ArchiCAD 28 was the change in the way that libraries work inside ArchiCAD. So prior to ArchiCAD 28, all libraries were sent out or distributed in ArchiCAD as .lcf files or library container files. And those have been changed for a new format called libpack. You can see a series of them here. These are the default ArchiCAD libpacks. and they're often referred to by Graphisoft as global libraries. So the idea here is that all of the libraries are available to everyone, instead of just having specific regions having access to their own doors and windows, for instance, and that sort of thing. So everyone can get access to them, and also the way that libpacks work themselves is a little bit different to how LCFs work as well. And because of that, it means that migration to ArchiCAD 28 is a little bit different to how migration works in ArchiCAD 27 and older. So normally in older versions of ArchiCAD, to migrate a project, you would open the project in ArchiCAD. It would pop up and it would say, do you want to migrate your libraries? You would choose to do that, and it would just swap your ArchiCAD Library 27 for an ArchiCAD Library 28 folder instead, and then you would just continue on with your work that way. What happens now is there are two different ways of migrating. The first way is to essentially do the old way of migration. So that is, if you're migrating from ArchiCAD 27, you just continue to load the ArchiCAD Library 27 folder and ArchiCAD, and use those older LCF libraries the way that you would do anything. And this is the recommended workflow for anyone who is just bringing an existing project into ArchiCAD 28 or soon to be 29, that you just want to keep working on, but in the newer version. So you stick with your old libraries in the newer version and just continue on the way that you were using it. There's not really anything extra that you need to do there. But the second method is to fully migrate your libraries, and in most cases you don't need to do this. So if you are just bringing through one or two projects that you want to continue working on, use the first method, which is loading the old libraries. However, there are certain cases where you will want to fully migrate your libraries to the ArchiCAD 28 libraries. The main use case for that is when you are wanting to migrate a template, but in certain cases you might have large groups of projects that are in some way sort of standard projects that you use all of the time, or something like that, that you want to migrate as well. And so what you need to do in that case is move from using LCFs to using the new libpack format. And when you do that, all of your objects will disappear. They'll all turn into dots when you open the project. In ArchiCAD 28, you will see everything is missing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up an ArchiCAD 27 version of this project. If I can find it. Here we go. And we'll see what happens. So this is ArchiCAD 28, and we're opening the ArchiCAD 27 version of the project. So the first thing that you get is the option to migrate your libraries. We'll hit the Migrate ArchiCAD Libraries button so that you can see how that works. And what this will do is that it will drop out the ArchiCAD Library 27 folder, and it will load up the ArchiCAD Library 28 folder, which is actually just a renamed version of the ArchiCAD Library 27 folder. So it's effectively not doing anything. And this is going to give us the result of that first option that I mentioned, where we just load the old libraries. So you can see that everything is showing up here. All of my, let's go to my view. All of my doors and windows and everything are showing as you would expect. And if I go into my library manager, you will see the library situation is that we're loading ArchiCAD Library 28 here. So that is what the migration did. And if we have a look at ArchiCAD Library 28, you will see that it's actually just ArchiCAD Library 27. So you can see everything is called the same name that they had under ArchiCAD 27. So we've effectively not migrated libraries at all. We're just using the old version. And again, for 90% of cases, this is what you should do. You should keep loading that older library for the length of that project. And then when you start new projects, you'll start using the new library setup. However, there are situations where you're going to need to migrate a project, and so that's what we're going to look at using the Launchpad tool now. So we've loaded up the project using the old library. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull that out, and I'll drop in the new library packages instead so that you can see how that works. So we're going to go into ArchiCAD 28 and then go into ArchiCAD library packages, and we'll just select all of the library packages and we'll load those up. So select all of those, hit open, and then hit OK. And what that's going to do is it is going to swap everything across to the lib packs, and we will see probably quite a lot of dots appear. All right, so most of my project is turned into dots now because nothing is, it's not able to find any of the objects anymore. In a lot of cases, these are CI Tools ones, but it will also apply to everything else. And the reason for this is because, as you may know, in the old libraries, so for instance in ArchiCAD Library 27, if you place down an object for a sofa, the sofa object is called Sofa 27. However, the new version of that library is just called Sofa. So they have essentially lost the number that comes after them. So you can see in here the standard Blender and everything. This used to be called Blender 27, but in the libpack version of the library, it's just called Blender. So everything will be missing because everything doesn't have that name anymore. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the Launchpad migration function to fix that up. So migrate library parts here. So what we need to do first is that we go into our library manager and we load all of the new lib packs as well as the old libraries. We need to have both loaded at the same time. This is going to cause quite a huge amount of duplicates because we essentially have 2 of every library part, but this is just a temporary thing that we need to do as part of the process, because the migration tool needs to be able to look at the old libraries and match them to the equivalent new libraries. So we're going to load these up. You'll see everything appear, and our library manager will have probably thousands of duplicates in it, but we will fix that up after we've done the migration. So once it's finished loading these libraries, we should see everything come back after we do that. Okay, so everything comes back because we've got both libraries loaded. If I look at my library manager, you'll see that we have almost 4,000 warnings here, so it is duplicating everything, but we're going to ignore that for now. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to CI Tools, Launchpad, and choose to migrate library parts. It will tell us that it is going to migrate everything because we didn't have anything selected, which is what we want, and in most cases it's what you will want to do. And we hit the migrate button. It gives us a warning that it may take a long time because depending on the size of your project, it might take a long time. In my case, the project is quite small and it doesn't have a very large amount of the standard ArchiCAD library objects in it, so only 74 in this case, so it was quite quick. But if you do have larger projects, it may take a couple of minutes to run. So just keep an eye on that. Once it's done, hit OK. You won't see any changes. It will look the same as it did before, but everything has been swapped out for the new versions of the objects now. So what we can now do is we can go back in, remove the old library, so we can get rid of the LCF library now, and probably get rid of the migration library as well. So we're loading just the ArchiCAD library packages, and now we need to also load in the ArchiCAD 28 CI Tools as well. So going into the ArchiCAD 28 folder, go to CI Tools library packages, and we'll load all of those as well. So that's the ArchiCAD 28 version lib packs for the CI Tools. So we'll hit OK now. That will clear out most of our duplicate library part errors, and all of the objects should have migrated now. So we'll just give that a minute to load. Now there's a couple of exceptions to this, because there are a handful of things that just can't be migrated to the by the tool, so we'll have a look at those in a moment. Here we go. So you can see most of our items are still showing, all our windows and doors. These are mostly CI Tools ones anyway, but you can see that those have migrated through OK. We've got all of our markers and labels and everything have come through as well. So you can see WC here, which used to be called WC27, is now just WC, so it's translated across to the libpack version of that object. Now you'll see over here that we've got a whole bunch of dots here, and that is happening on the stair. The reason for that is because our tool can't get into the stair migrations yet. But if you open up the stair items, you'll be able to fix that easily enough by migrating these manually. So this is what you need to do one by one if you're going to do the migration process without using our Launchpad add-on. You have to go through every object in your project and do what I'm about to do with the stair. So we've cut out most of the work of doing that. You'll just need to fix up your stairs doing it manually for now. So we go into structure and then under flight you'll see that we're using OpenStringer 23. We just select that and then migrate that to OpenStringer without a version number on it, and we just go through and do that for each of those. These will be different depending on what your stairs were made using, but we just need to swap those through manually. We may be able to update this for the next ArchiCAD release so that you don't have to do stairs as well, but at this stage you do need to go through and migrate your stairs manually. So go through each of the lower level items here and just swap those to their versionless object names. Rise it there, then hit OK, and that should get rid of some of the dots. We've still got dots showing because of the floor plan display and that sort of thing, but you get the idea. We just need to go through and swap those all out, but everything else otherwise has been migrated through to ArchiCAD 28 format for us now. And if you're using the technical preview of ArchiCAD 29, you can do exactly the same process there. So if you're migrating from 27 straight to 29, the process is exactly the same. You'll load up the library that you were using in the project before, so ArchiCAD Library 27. You'll load up all of the new lib packs in ArchiCAD 29, and then you just run that migration command from the Launchpad tool. It will migrate them, and then you can remove the old LCF libraries, and away you go. If you don't already have the LCFs on your machine, maybe you're migrating to 29 from 27 and you don't actually happen to have 27 installed on this computer, then ArchiCAD are making available, Graphisoft are making available a library called the Monolith Migration Library, which you can download for free, and that will give you all of those libraries. Once ArchiCAD 29 is getting close to release, we will publish documentation on how to get hold of that library and how to use it and that sort of thing as well. And there'll be an equivalent CI Tools Monolith Migration Library for anyone using that as well. So that's the process of doing a migration to using lib packs. As I say, in most cases you don't need to do this, so please only do this if you know you actually need to for some reason. We've had some customers who, for instance, always use the same projects as a sort of a base for a handful of different types of projects. So while they need to migrate their template as well, they have a bunch of project files that are the sort of more built up versions of templates almost, and they needed to do all of them as well, and so using our migration tool makes that much easier. But if you are just midway through a project and you want to bring it into 28 or 29 for some reason, you can just go ahead and do that and continue loading the LCF libraries. That's the best way for that still. So that is the migration command, migrate library parts from the Launchpad tool. There are a couple of other things going on in the Launchpad tool as well. So if I open up my object tool and have a look in the Launchpad tool, so under CI Tools library, we've got the Launchpad folder here. You can see we've got a bunch of folders here. So I'm just going to finish up by going through and having a look at what's available here. So under bathroom, we have a specific what's the word, a basin available here. I'm going to skip these two for now because we'll come back to them. We've got our healthcare equipment available here. So under assemblies, we have our assemblies, and these will work with the these have now been sort of adapted to the fit out tool, but if you don't have the fit out tool or you're not wanting to use that, we do have the assemblies available as standalone assemblies. So you can see we have the different groupings. We've got the consult room desk assembly, curtain track assembly, patient bed assembly, patient lift single and traversal, and the services panel assemblies ready to go there. So if you have a use for that sort of thing, we have those available there. And then the components are just the individual parts of each of those assemblies. So if you just want the bedside cabinet, or just want the computer or something like that, you can do it that way as well. We've got our holiday decorations, which are just a bunch of exactly what they sound like, holiday decorations for kind of a bit of fun. We've got a handful of people objects, and we have our table object, which is essentially just a object that will place text in a table. It's exactly what it sounds like it would do. So you can just put in a bunch of different text in this table. You can load the text in from by putting it in manually here, or you can import it from a text file. So you can see I can specify a text file here and say if it's a TSV or a CSV, and import it that way as well. So this is just kind of handy if you have a bunch of data that you want to show on a table somewhere. You don't have to somehow get a PDF embedded that you need to update every time or something like that. You can just do it this way as well. So that's kind of handy. But then coming back to the calculation folders here, we've got 2 folders for those, and the idea here is that we've made some calculation objects, so objects to help you with calculation tasks that are specific to certain localized versions. So for the calculation Australia folder here, we have the room light and ventilation table, which will show us exactly what it sounds like. I'll place one down in a moment so you can see it. And in calculation New Zealand, we have the H1AS1 and H1AS2 calculation methods. So that's the energy efficiency calculations. We also have the E2, which is the risk, used to be called the risk analysis table, and it's for doing E2AS1 standard things in New Zealand. And then we have the G4 and G7, which is essentially the New Zealand version of the Australian room light and ventilation object there. So these are available for you to use, so you can go in and grab the object that you want. They're not, in most cases, they're not picking up data from the project. They are just nice and convenient ways for you to place a pre-formatted table of all of the data that you need, and you can just go through and tell it what you want it to show. So it's not reading in things like the type of roof that you're using and that sort of thing. You need to input that data. It's just a nice, easy way of making this table so that you can put that in your output set. However, the G4, G7 and the room light and ventilation tables do actually smartly pick up areas. And so the way that we do that is by going to the CI Tools menu, Launchpad, and saying calculate. We'll go with the New Zealand one for now. Calculate G4, G7 table. It will change to a pencil icon, and then we can just click to place that table. And you will see that it pre-populates the table based on our actual project. So it is brought through all of my zones there. You can see I've got bathrooms, bedrooms, kitchen, living, etc. And it has brought those through. So we've got bathroom, bedroom, bedroom 2, hallway, kitchen, and living zones have come through, and then it brings through the glazing areas and floor areas for those, and then shows you the ratios for the G7 and the G4 there. And if I do the same again, but for the light and ventilation, it will do the same thing, but for the Australian version of the same chart there. So you can see it's inputted those zones with the areas that it needs, and then calculated the ratios there. So those are all available in the Launchpad tool, which again is free for anyone to use. All you need to do is sign up on our website and get a hold of that. Once you run the CI Tools installer for the first time, you will see that tool is available to install for ArchiCAD 28. All right, I'm just going to quickly see if we have any questions before I finish up. We'll just pause that and have a look there. All right, it looks like we don't have any questions today. So we'll finish up for today, but thanks for your time, everyone. We will be, I will be back again same time next week. If you do have any suggestions for things you'd like to see covered at future webinars, please let us know by emailing us at nz.support@centralinnovation.com. If you do want to try out the tools, or if you just want to get hold of the free Launchpad tool, which doesn't oblige you to pay any money at all, just head over to myci.centralinnovation.com/free trial. That'll let you sign up for a MyCI login there, and you can install trials of any tools that you want, and you can also install the free Launchpad tool and get started with that. Thanks for your time, everyone, though, and I will catch you at the next one.